Government Consulting. We will go directly to questioning, if that's okay with everyone. Excellent. And we'll go to Senator Patterson.
Thanks, Chair. I have some questions about Treasury's unauthorised payment of $2.3 billion. Dr de Brouwer, are you familiar with this issue?
I am, Senator, yes.
Thank you. When did it first come to your attention?
Mr O'Brien wrote to me, I think on the 12th of November, asking for some information around it.
You weren't previously aware of it?
No, I wasn't.
Treasury reported it in their annual report for 24-25, and there's also been extensive media coverage of this issue. Is anyone on your team aware of it?
Sorry, I am aware of the news coverage. I think when there are breaches of finance law and then they're reported through financial reporting, that actually is not an extremely unusual occurrence. So, but I was aware of it through the media.
Right,
Senator.
okay.
Sorry, I was.
So you first became aware of it due to media reports?
Look, I'm trying to remember. I'm particularly aware of Mr O'Brien's letter to me.
Yes. I may have questions about the letter, but I'm just, in the first instance, want to know how you, or by extension your office, became aware of this issue. Was it reported to you by Treasury, reported to you by the ANAO, just through media reports?
Either through media reports or through Mr O'Brien's letter.
Right. Are any of your colleagues more familiar with this issue, involved in managing?
Senator, like Dr de Brouwer, I was aware of the media reports, and also Dr de Brouwer shared the letter from Mr O'Brien with me. Okay,
so Treasury didn't report it to you on a proactive basis?
No, Senator.
Okay. Just on this letter, so you're right, the Shadow Treasurer wrote to you on the 12th of November about it, and you wrote back to him on the 20th of November, is that right?
I did, yes, Senator.
Why was it only emailed to the Shadow Treasurer's office yesterday?
That was, I thought it had been emailed when I wrote the letter. It was an administrative error, and I apologise for that. It was meant to be sent to Mr O'Brien on the 20th. So it was an administrative error, Senator.
By whom?
My office,
right.
Or within the Commission, Senator. It was a misunderstanding between officials about who had responded to the letter, and one party thought the other had, and I take responsibility for that, Senator.
Who's the other party?
Well, within the Commission.
Right. Because, I mean, it's 11 days since you signed the letter and it was being received, and it also just happened to land on the eve of your Senate estimates appearance. That's an unfortunate occurrence, isn't it?
It was unintended that way. My intention was that it would go on the 20th, and it was, as I say, I realised it hadn't been sent yesterday, and then we sent it straight away. And I said it's an administrative error, and I apologise for that.
People more cynical than me might say that there's a connection between it being given to the Shadow Treasurer's office and Senate estimates.
No, Senator. I understand that, but I can assure you that's not the case.
Okay. All right. Well, all I can do is take you at your word, and I will take you at your word on that. In your letter to the Shadow Treasurer, you say that you're unable to provide any answers to him because the APSC's management of this issue is confidential. Is that right?
Yes, Senator. And in my response, I was very clear that we take all these matters seriously. We get a range of matters raised with the Commission, so we take them all seriously. Because Mr O'Brien raised questions around code of conduct, and both within Treasury and potentially more generally, that information is typically protected information under the Public Service Act, and that under the Public Service Act we have very strict restrictions on talking about individual cases, and this is a long-standing issue. So my comment to Mr O'Brien was, we received it, we're taking it seriously, but I cannot provide any public comment on the individual matter, either whether it's going to proceed or not. We don't talk about whether things are proceeding or not, because if we talk about not proceeding, then by implication it's you are proceeding, and we don't, because it's, again, protected information under the Public Service Act, I don't talk about it.
I understand that. Just on this letter, so you wrote to the Shadow Treasurer, you say that you're unable to provide any answers to him because the APSC's management of this issue is confidential. Is that right?
Yes, Senator.
You understand, though, that it's one thing to decline to provide this information in response to a letter from the Shadow Treasurer because you're not under any particular legal obligation to furnish things in response to a letter, and it's a different matter about your obligations towards the Senate through the Senate estimates process. You understand the difference, don't you?
I do understand that difference, Senator, and I go back to saying that it's protected information under the Public Service Act. The intention in that Act is that this material cannot be used, I can't talk about this or can't use this in court proceedings, and that if I declare it publicly, then that's potentially a criminal act for me. So I'm just saying the Public Service Act is very clear.
I've got good news for you. You're protected by parliamentary privilege here. You cannot, no adverse action can be taken against you because of evidence you give in this forum.
And I've been through this also with Robodebt and other code of conduct cases, Senator, and I will stick by this being protected information that I will not discuss.
Protected information under the PGPA is not grounds to refuse to answer questions in the Senate.
Well, then I will take that on notice and consider whether I need to make a public interest immunity claim, Senator.
This has been well litigated in the Senate in relation to other agencies. The ATO tried in 2018 to say that they were prohibited from answering questions because of protected provisions, and in the end, they decided to cooperate with the Senate and provide the documents as requested.
Senator Patterson, Dr de Bruin has said that he is going to take it on notice and see what he can provide and come back to us. And should he provide a PII, we can then assess it within the committee.
Thank you, Chair. I'm still want to probe this issue because I want to understand what advice you're relying on, Dr de Bruin, to say that you're prohibited from answering the Senate's questions about this. I'm
saying that it's this is protected information under the Public Service Act. I take that very seriously, and a long-standing practice has not been, including in Senate estimates, not to talk about individual cases.
Yeah, well, I haven't even got to individual cases yet. We're at a much earlier threshold than that. We can debate whether that's appropriate or not if and when we get to it, but you're not even willing to confirm whether or not you've commenced an investigation? Because if I say I've had discussion with Treasury about the matter, and you can raise that with Treasury at Senate estimates. And that's the normal practice, Senator, is when an issue is raised about a department that we follow up and talk with the department about those matters. So that's a factual matter that I will say. But I am restricted in being able to talk about the specifics of what the particular view is over that matter. And I do that because I don't want the precedent of saying, yes, there's nothing here, which may imply that in future cases there is something there. And I think for individuals, but let's save ourselves the time. That would not be a valid PII claim. The Senate has no grounds on which that would be a valid PII claim. I'll
take that on notice, Senator, and we'll come back if I go down a PII claim on that matter.
So you can confirm, though, that you have had discussions with the Treasury about this matter?
Yes, Senator.
How often and when?
Well, I wrote to the Secretary of the Treasury, and then I've had correspondence back from the Secretary.
When did you do that?
I wrote at the same time on the 20th of November that I wrote to Mr O'Brien.
Hopefully that one went in the mail and...
It went through someone different. Yes, Senator. Okay. And I've heard back from the Secretary of the Treasury.
When did you hear back?
Today.
Okay. And what is the usual process in an investigation like this?
Senator, if I could explain, the usual process is for an agency head, where every agency head's required to have procedures and processes around the conduct of investigations and other matters within their own agencies. So the usual process is for agency heads to take responsibility for questions of this nature that arise within their department or agency.
So, to be clear, it was the current Treasury Secretary you wrote to, not the former Treasury Secretary?
Yes, Senator.
And can you table the correspondence?
I'll take that on notice, Senator.
Can you, on notice, include both your correspondence to the Treasury Secretary and their response?
I'll take that on notice, Senator. Yep.
Is the matter concluded now these letters have been exchanged, or is there further matters?
If I say that, then it tells you what the outcome of the correspondence was, and I don't want to talk about the material or the content of that conversation.
Spending $2.3 billion of public money without lawful authorisation is a serious issue, isn't it?
Well, yes, Senator, but you should really go back to, I think, that's a matter for finance law and Treasury and raise that matter with them.
But I'm just trying to understand the APSC's view of this matter. It's not a trivial matter, is it?
Well, finance law is not a trivial matter, Senator, and the Public Service Act is clear about the requirements to meet finance law. That's part of the expectations that Parliament has on the conduct of public servants.
It's also a violation of Section 83 of the Constitution, isn't it?
Well, I'm not a constitutional law expert, Senator. That's certainly in the statement by Mr. O'Brien.
You don't need to be a professor of constitutional law to know that the executive can't spend the money without the authorisation of the Parliament. In fact, I would hope every public servant involved in spending money knows that.
Well, yes, Senator.
Well-established, centuries-old precedent. So it's not a technical breach, is it?
I think that's really a matter for you to raise with the with Treasury, and I think they've gone through. They discussed the matter with the Auditor General. It's been in their financial accounts. That's all publicly available. It's really a matter for you to raise with Treasury, Senator.
Well, the ANAO was very happy to answer yesterday when I asked them. They said they didn't understand what a technical breach was. They said a breach is a breach, and it is a serious matter. Well,
that's a matter for you to raise with the Treasury, Senator. That's not in my competency.
Okay. Under the APS Stewardship and Integrity Framework, is the accountable authority responsible for ensuring payments not made without lawful authorisations?
So there's a general obligation, Senator, for every public servant to comply with the law.
That's would hope so, but specifically about spending money unlawfully?
Well, that would include the finance law, Senator.
Okay. Is repeated violations of that more serious matter than occasional or incidental?
We'd probably start getting into hypothetical questions here, Senator, that are hard to answer in the hypothetical. I know you're referring to a specific matter. As Dr de Brouwer said, we wouldn't comment on specific matters, but we do, as a matter of principle, we look at every matter on a case-by-case basis in all of the circumstances of a matter.
Is there anything in the APS Code of Conduct that goes to these matters?
What are these matters?
The lawful expenditure of public money.
As I said, I think the Public Service Act is clear that there's a requirement to meet finance law, so that would be, I think, covered by that matter.
I'm asking about the APS Code of Conduct, though. Is there anything specific in the APS Code of Conduct?
I might ask.
Yeah, we can ask Ms Barber to come to the table, Senator, who looks after
yes, please. Thank you.
These matters in the Commission. And I'm just looking at the values that are under the Act in Section 10 of the legislation. There's a relevant value of ethical, where the APS demonstrates leadership is trustworthy and acts with integrity in all that it does. So that would be consistent with acting lawfully. And there's another value around accountable, where the APS is open and accountable to the Australian community under the law and within the framework of ministerial responsibility.
What's the advice that you provide when an accountable authority of an agency is to be investigated for a code of conduct breach?
That would depend on the circumstances of the particular matter, Senator.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you, who do you advise if an accountable authority is under investigation for a code of conduct breach? The Minister, the Prime Minister, the Secretary of PMNC, who's advised?
Senator, are you talking about a matter where an agency would be undertaking a code of conduct
where the APSC is conducting
process,
an
or where the
investigation for a
APSC
code of
does?
conduct breach?
So, Senator, that's the power of the Commissioner, his own motion power to conduct code of conduct investigations into agency heads. I can give you the section, but I can tell you the section if you want. That's a matter for the Commissioner. That's a matter for me,
yes.
Senator.
And so I'm asking, what do you do when you are investigating someone? Do you, in terms of notice, do you tell the Prime Minister? Do you tell the relevant minister? Who is informed?
yeah.
Kylie Barber, Assistant Commissioner, Integrity, Performance and Employment Policy. So it would be typical that we would advise, obviously, the respondent to the matter, certainly with notice of allegations, but also the relevant minister would be advised, and it would be common for us to advise the Public Service Minister.
The who, sorry?
The Public Service Minister, just out of courtesy.
Okay, so not the Prime Minister.
Well, we're getting into when there's an actual finding, then there's a requirement that the Prime Minister is advised if there's a finding. That's under.
Yes, okay. Well, we might come to the conclusion of an investigation if there's a finding, but just the commencement of an investigation. So you let the responsible minister know and the Public Service Minister know.
And we'll need to rotate the call in a minute, Senator.
I think that.
Yeah, I'm just seeking the confirmation.
I think we need to go back. We've got specific procedures for inquiry, and I'd like to go back to those specific procedures for inquiry into a code of conduct, into an agency head. So I'll take your question on notice, Senator.
Thank you.
Just to refer it back, so I don't want to mislead you in any way on that.
Okay, and just before we rotate the call, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Senator. I was just going to go back to your earlier question around the actual code of conduct. I was referring to the values before.
Yes.
But if we look at section 13.4 of the code of conduct, it talks about complying with all applicable Australian laws.
Thank you. Okay, final question for me, just to the Minister before we rotate the call, Chair. Minister, have you been notified about an investigation into any official in relation to this matter?
Well, no, and I wouldn't be.
We just heard evidence that you would be.
Well, I think not if... Well, my understanding is normally agencies do their own code of conduct investigations if there are code of conducts, unless it's been an agency head.
We literally just heard that if the APSC commences a code of conduct investigation, they notify the Public Service
Well, they
Minister.
do it into specific... Well...
I'll come back.
Well, sorry, I'll just say what I get. So I
Please.
have been notified in the past when it's a code of conduct into an agency head.
Yes.
I am not routinely briefed on every code of conduct matter across the APS or indeed even in the APSC.
So if it's not an agency head, it may not rise to the threshold of notifying the Public Service Minister. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, I'm sure I'm briefed appropriately on, like, when the officials think I should be briefed, that I would be briefed, and I have been briefed in the past on agency heads having a code of conduct investigation into them.
But not in relation to this misspent public money?
No, it was in relation to robo-debt, which of course, if we want to talk about the use of public money to pursue citizens for debts that they didn't owe, that was something that was done under your government.
And we'll just rotate the call.